Psychic mediumship is dying, has been dying for at least 20 years now. It's slowly decaying and slowly dying. And it's a sure thing. And if you don't know me, I'm Claudiu. I trained as a psychic medium for more than 6 years. I've been aware of things that are not able to be seen by others, what's known as spirit, what's known as psychic, what's known as our loved ones in spirit. So if you are hearing noises or have an awareness that there's something out there that everybody else cannot perceive, most likely you're not insane. But do go and check it because I'm not a doctor. So I today I help psychic mediums and holistic professionals build and run successful businesses online, and I teach them to charge money for their time. Now, let's come back to our topic today. Mediumship. No, I'll start first with psychic because if I want to talk about psychic, what I personally know and many of you might know, if you're not a psychic medium or if you are, then it's highly possible that you may have heard from it from TV. Any of these terms, psychic mediumship or just psychic. If you go on Google and search what is a psychic, you will find different answers. But where is that word coming from? Is it so-called magicians pulling rabbits out of their hats? Are we dancing on stage and we're having half naked ladies with us dancing with us? Are we going there and preying on vulnerable people and getting their money and telling them that there's some God knows what curse on upon them? Or we are missing one tooth and we have our stand in the magical Halloween fairy and I have my globe on the table and all of that. Is that what it is? Do I need to ask you for a pound so I can read your future and tell you about the great love of your life that may come at some point? Is this what psychic is? Well, if we look at the word psyche, this is your psyche here in the most basic form and concept I can share with you. Psyche or psyche, it's part of your mental state. It's part of what you are. Beyond this, what you can see, there is something, depending on your background, that there might be something, we might be coming from somewhere. This body is functioning with something much more than a brain and energy and other wonderful things, which are magical. So there must be a signal coming into and offering me information that I'm able to convey to you in this moment. Some people talk about energy. Some people talk about aura or auric field, right? Some people have a halo effect. So wherever you come from, I'm just trying to share something in the best way I can share it. And I mean no disrespect in any way. These are my own perspectives and my own understandings. Whatever you feel that works for you, please take that. Most likely, a lot will not fit you, and it's okay. Please turn off the episode otherwise. So, there is a connection to the psyche. Now, if I meet you in person and you're going through something in your life, or I am going through something in my life, it often happens that we can resonate with each other. If you see somebody crying, it often happens that you might have some sort of empathy. Empathy is connected to your psyche, empathy is connected to your emotions. So there's, let's just call that the magical invisible force that connects us to other human beings, animals, nature, everything there is. So I hope we have a common ground here that there is much more than meat and stones and bricks, that we do have some sort of emotions, regardless of your background, of your own beliefs. Now, for simple terms, let's call this our psyche. I'm not going to go into the heart and all of that. Let's just call it our psyche. So that's what psychic work is. I may be able to connect with you, I may be able to talk to you. Usually, psychics can be a form of therapy. They are not licensed to be therapists. Make this very clear to you. They are not licensed as such. But sometimes and quite often, it happens that people go to see psychics or psychic mediums because they personally have a strong need. They may not be aware of the actual intent behind their need, but there is a need that their soul might crave for. When people go for a reading, I had over, God, maybe 15,000 readings that I paid and received, and many were paid and many were free. Because later in life, I made wonderful friends that read for me, um, and I read them back. So I didn't have to pay money for that. So going back, I seen and I know people need some to be heard. So often, these decisions can have a therapeutic nature in them, can have a potential of healing in them. Decisions are not necessarily about the lottery numbers. We are at large, not fortune tellers. I don't know if anybody being able to tell you or me the numbers to the lottery. I have not met somebody like that yet. So I will just stick to what I know. I don't know if anybody being able to do that. Yes, there were some other professionals that may be able to get some other kind of information that turned out to be validated. We're not going to address that now. So we're not fortune tellers. I'm also not addressing the love psychics or love tarot readers. I don't have enough space for that. I don't do that. The way I work and the way that many I have known that we have trained at different centers, they mostly focus on you as an individual, where you are, and the potentiality of what could benefit your life in terms of psychic work. They are meant to bring clarity in your life, some guidance, but they cannot give you direct, guaranteed 100% advice on how to live your life and what you should do tomorrow. And there are some countries and some regulations where some professionals are required to state that they are just entertainers. There's nothing entertaining about it because people often cry and I cry, and it takes a whole lot of time to develop as a psychic medium or as a medium or as a psychic or tarot reader, any way you see it fit for you. Yes, some sessions could be fun. They can be highly emotional. Yes, there are some, like in any forest, there are different people who have different agendas too. But it's up to the individual, up to yourself to make your own judgment and your own understanding of what you actually need and who do you actually need to see. And if somebody's coming to you and they say they have a curse on you or something and you need to pay them, that's not a psychic medium. So have some discernment. A real professional will never approach you to give you a reading. Never. And that's the end of that. So let's go back to why I think, well, I know this whole science is dying. One other aspect, mediumship. I don't teach any of these sciences. Mediumship, in short, is making a connection to the spirit world where messages, emotions, and insights from your loved ones who have transited into the spirit world come and express themselves in particular ways through the person in front of you, through the professional medium that has spent decades to learn it, that has spent decades to become a vessel of expression for the spirit world. They do not take possession of their body. There's nothing like that. Mostly it's just love. Mostly it's information and proof of your time with your loved ones. And that's all there is to it. And the session can stop at any time by the choice of the medium and by the choice of you as the client. So there's much more to it, but let's just stop here with mediumship. Now, why do I say all of this science, which has been forever in the world? If you look back in ancient Egypt, before that, there were mediums, psychics, sages, masters, wise men at all the courts, at all the empires, at all every corner. They were there and they were seen as somebody very important. Look at the Mayan cultures. Look at the Andean cultures. Look in India. They have gurus, they have sages, they have seers, they have prophets everywhere. So Each of them, they have something in common, and that's the psyche. So while not all of them were so-called fortune tellers, there is this commonality called psyche, that is at the base of most of the work. Even in yoga practice, there is. Because it cannot be otherwise. You cannot have the emotion without the psyche. You cannot help that person without really connecting with them. We're not rocks. But I think over the time, many since 1970s, this word psychic mediumship has gotten the worst stigma possible, because it is associated to entertainment, it is associated to fortune telling, it is associated to love readings. And I think really TV has something to do with that, because I believe TV stations want people to watch their channels. So if it's boring, nobody's gonna watch it. So they have to make entertaining it somehow. And then I also believe that, as I mentioned earlier, there's some countries and regulations where they might need to specify that, oh yeah, this episode is for entertainment only, because they don't want to get in trouble, because they cannot guarantee the outcome. And you know what? Nobody can guarantee you anything in life. The government cannot guarantee your pension. The government cannot guarantee that tomorrow, if I walk on the street, there will not be a flower pot falling on my head. Nobody can guarantee me that. So let's use some common sense. So I think everything started to go downhill with the TV and everything. And I don't want to put down media, but media at large is meant to grab your attention somehow, to make something fascinating, to have stories being told. And there's also good media too. And I'm not going to dig into this topic right now. But I believe this is where it all started to come down. And I believe this is where where it started to have a stigma around it. And then the carnival psychics that you may have seen on movies. And again, that had to be made entertaining somehow. Then the horror movies, the Ouija board, and all of that. They were trying to portray some concepts, but they had to be dramatized in somehow. All those possessions, they had to be dramatized somehow. Now, it's very easy to see how all of this can be made over time to be seen as entertaining and not be taken too seriously at large by the public. But in all this time, there have been people, millions and millions of people, looking and paying for psychics, mediums, holistic professionals, tarot reader, astrologer, or everything you can imagine. They might not talk about it publicly, but they are thriving. It's just that they are not public about it. It's just that they clients might come to them through internal referrals, so they don't need the website, they don't need an online presence, they don't need, it's just somebody. It often happens that there are people who have been in the business for 10, 20, 30 years, and obviously everybody will go to their homes to look for a reading. Often they are good at their job, and they are taken serious. But the same clients who go to them, not all of them, but at large, they don't mention anything about it on the internet. They won't even recognize they might go to see them, but there's nothing to be ashamed of. They are consultants. A psychic medium, it is a consultant, and gives you guidance and clarity and potential insights that could benefit your life. And that's all there is to it. And there are psychics working for presidents, there are psychics working for business owners, there are psychics working for other professionals, there are psychics going to fairs and carnivals, there are psychics donating their time to charity events. There are psychics who have public demonstrations, or what's called a public gathering group setting, where everybody, well, not everybody, but some people in the audience might get a reading. So there are many ways to work, and all of them are good in their own way. But here's the problem: young people are not going into this field too often. So if we have some people who started it in the early times, let's call them wise people, because I want to be respectful. Then we must realize that at some point they will also pass. They will transition in another reality. Then what's left behind? Who's who's continuing the work? I'm 36, and I have met other young people like myself and younger and kids and children, and they might have the emotions, they might have an understanding, and often they do, but they might not know how to train it. They might not know that where to find the information. They might not know that they are actually not crazy. And often it happens that people go and take medications to deal with the emotions that they don't have an education about it. And doctors and psychiatrists and all of that, they will just put you numb your emotions. So I'm not a doctor. I cannot discuss for everybody. But if you have an awareness of something, then make some research. There might be something that could resonate with you. Go for a free practice evening. Go for a free development circle. There are many on the internet. You can also follow me and send me a message, and I'll share some resources. You don't need to pay. There are free options there. And if you feel that's for you, then go develop it if you feel called to. Going back to the younger people, they do not have the education at large. They cannot afford to go and pay for expensive courses. Not all of them are expensive, but they cannot fly because it costs money to fly to UK or to Australia or to Netherlands or some places in America. And they may also not know where to train on the internet. They also don't want to be judged. And it's often the case that in this work, spiritual work, there's also the ugly and the beautiful. So it's often that people usually develop their abilities and may never develop themselves as humans, may never do their own personal development, which I believe should first be developed before anything else. So there's a lot of shadow work, so called, that it's not being taken care of. So it's easier for some a beginner to feel judged by others, maybe without their intention, and they might give up. They might not pursue it. And there's still certain beliefs, mostly coming from the UK, not everybody in the UK, but mostly coming from there, that psychic mediums should not charge for this work. I personally invested over $20,000 to develop. I'm not working with the public right now. I chose to work in a different way to help psychic mediums and holistic professionals build businesses. Because that's what I felt I have a stronger point in. Because I've been involved with technology for over 20 years. So it will be harder for them. And because I don't know how to call it, to me it's mad. I don't understand the concept. Going to develop, it costs money, it costs time, it costs your health, it costs you tears and crying and traveling and putting your life on hold and struggling with your families that they don't understand that now you have to talk to dead people or something. So there is a cost. It's not free. So at large, I don't understand who came up with it that psychic mediums should do this work for free or for $5 for 20 minutes. Otherwise, you might lose the gift, I think. But that's my own understanding. So that's the problem because nobody will want to develop anymore if it's so troublesome, the whole thing. If they might just research and keep it for themselves, new people who just get in or people who are at different stages of their unfoldment, They will just not collaborate with others. They will just not serve the humanity, the people, their clients. They will not do it. And there will be a great need, and there is a great need for good psychic mediums and good holistic professionals and good tarot readers and everything on in this field. There is a great need, and we have a duty to serve and to help. So, because there's so many variables why I see psychic mediumship dying, people at large, they have a 9 to 5 job, which is not being a psychic medium. They do psychic medium in their own spare time, and that's okay. But if you don't do something as your main job, you may not reach that point, that quality of service that I often hear that mediumship and this kind of work was different 30 years ago and the quality has decreased. Well, as an outsider, even though I've been in it for 6 years, as an outsider, I think it has to do with the fact that we don't breathe and sleep and meditate and practice mediumship throughout our time. Most of us are actively seeing it as a hobby. Most of us, including myself, we have other ideas, other jobs, other things to take care of. So we cannot dedicate a lifetime to psychic mediumship. Then that's one of the reasons why it's not the same quality. But there is good quality out there too. The other reason, people don't charge. If you have extra money, then you can take that money and go learn more. You can take that money and not be stuck in a 9 to 5 or deal with people you hate at work or deal with a job that's not your path. That instead, if mediumship, psychic work, holistic work, it is your calling and you're not doing it, you're not doing it full time, then you're not living your passion, you're not living what you're meant to do. And I know how damaging that can be for the soul. So that's how you stop doing other jobs and start living your authentic self and start living your soul's purpose. You do that job that's meant for you and you do it full time. In this case, we talk about psychic mediumship. You do that full time. Then that's how you improve. That's how you get better. That's how you develop. And you don't develop truly, in my own experience, by going to seminars and workshops. You develop in working with a real audience, an audience that pays you money. That's when you truly develop. That's when you truly serve. You're not serving yourself. You're serving the people. You're serving the humanity. What you're giving is you're giving your time. You're giving your experience. You're giving your sweat and tears of your own development, of your own understanding, of your own fights with your own family. You're giving the experience to help somebody in need. And in exchange for that energy, they give you another energy. It's called money. To balance this, it is just a fair exchange. That's all there is to it. It is a job. You are giving time and you get money. You should also have a disclaimer. If the client does not get their needs addressed, they can request their money back. They can request it on the spot. I often think it's good to give them 24 hours because sometimes some people, they're not sure if the reading was for them. But they can email you and they can ask for a refund with no questions asked within 24 hours. So if that sounds good to you, then pick what makes sense to you. That's what I feel that I personally can do. And actually, I offer a 30-day money back guarantee for my upcoming work. No questions asked. There will be an email sent there. No hard feelings. But I also reserve the right to work with you next time because this is how I see it. If I was not able to serve you in that particular day, what will make it different the next time? How could I serve you the second time if I failed you first? Or maybe I had a bad day. I don't see the point. I think there might be another specialist that could help you. So that's how I deal with it. So, younger people, look, it's a materialistic world. They need to make money, they need to develop. And yes, when I speak about development, a lot of the mediums, they have not dealt with their own insecurities. They have not dealt with their own personal development. When I say personal development, is this: you understand self worth. You understand love for yourself. You understand self acceptance. You understand that you have a place in this world. You understand that you have a calling in this world. You understand that you're meant to be here. You understand that you will never be for everybody. You understand that you are meant to help people who need your help, and those people will come themselves to find you. This is part of personal development. You understand that throughout life, there may have been experiences, traumas from childhood or growing up. Somebody says something to you in school. Kids bullied you, they beat you up at school or something. There are traumas and dramas and things that stuck with us, and they act in our psyche, in our subconsciousness. They stick there. Your body, it's all memory. Memory is not only here. Every cell of your body, it's memory. Every energy around you, whatever you want to call it, it has memory inside of it. It needs to be processed. You may not know not even 90% of everything that you hold inside of you. This is part of personal development. So think about it. How do we work with someone else's emotions when we haven't checked ourselves first? Now, if you have extra money from doing this work or other jobs, then you can develop this part of yourself, of your own personal development. And personal development, it's in other ways too. It has to do with creativity too. It has to do with how you express yourself. It has to do with how do you actually create a video, and how do you actually are comfortable talking alone to a camera. It's so much, so much. It can also be taking care of your body, of your mind, of your wellness. Maybe you want to travel the world. You want to go uh, to India. You want to study with the masters. That's also part of your personal, spiritual, and professional development. And I believe this is greatly missing in psychic mediumship today. So there's a lot of variables why psychic mediumship is dying. And I don't see a lot of new people coming in. But I know, and I know you know, that there are so many millions of people out there who have this understanding, who have these emotions as we have. And I will also know that there's at least 1 billion people who need your help. And there's the right people for you that will come and look for you. And that's, I believe we're coming to a closure to the episode today. I'd like to know what you think about what I said. Tell me everything. Does it ring a bell to you? Does it make a clear understanding of why I believe psychic mediumship is dying? I hope it does.